8.5 inches. That is the minimum size that your hand should reach in order to play an octave on the piano comfortably, which is playing two of the same consecutive notes at a time. So for example, this is a C note, this is a C note, this would be playing an octave. I use octaves constantly when I'm playing piano. It just so happens that my reach is the 8.5 inches, so I've never had to think much about hand size on the piano. And that is until I started teaching piano. So many people have a reach that is less than 8.5 inches, and the numbers are especially skewed if you're female. 76% of males and only 13% of females have a reach of 8.5 inches or wider. And that means 24% of males and a whopping 87% of females can't reach this far. And small hands can be a problem with more than just octaves. Some chords can be harder to play, playing multiple notes up and down the keys, and sometimes everything just feels uncomfortable, or so I've heard. But do you really want my advice on playing with smaller hands? Getting advice on playing with small hands from someone who has never had that problem, it's kind of like getting advice on, say, organization from a hoarder. So I thought I'd call in an expert in this area. I know an amazing pianist with some really freakishly small hands. Oh, that's my phone. What are the odds that you'd be calling me right now? Hey, what are you doing? I really could use your help with something. Yeah, can you come like right now? Okay, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Hey. All right, let me see your hand. Hold on. Let's just stretch it out. Stretch it out.
Okay.
All right. 7 inches. Oh, it's perfect. Okay. So I need you to come help show how you're able to play piano with such small, freakishly small hands.
Okay, let's do it.
Right,
Yeah. Yes, it's true. I have very small hands. I started playing piano as a really little kid. I had small hands then, and they just never got much bigger. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips that I learned along the way that will hopefully keep your hand size from limiting what you can do on the piano. Tip number 1 is to take advantage of the entire key. For some reason, a lot of beginners on the piano think that in order to play properly with the right technique, that they have to keep their fingers in front of the black keys, and that's not true at all. I want to give you permission to play the white keys in between the black keys when that is more comfortable for you. Here's an example. A B minor chord, it's made up of a B, a D, and an F sharp. I see a lot of students try to play this chord like this, keeping their middle finger a little bit lower on the white keys, but I'm giving you permission to move your middle finger or whatever finger you decide to use right here up along the keys, and I promise this will make playing this chord so much easier and so much more comfortable. So once again, it is totally fine and okay to play a white note way up here in between the black notes. So if you have small hands and you struggle with chords like B minor, this simple trick might make the world of a difference. Tip number 2, don't be afraid to move your wrist. This tip is super important for playing arpeggios, which is when you take the notes of a chord and play them individually one after the other. Beginner students tend to keep their hand in one place and expect their fingers to do all of the work when playing arpeggios. What you should do when playing arpeggios is to move your wrist side to side, back and forth, so that your fingers don't have to do all the work and reach so far. Tip number 3 is to utilize the edge of the keys. When playing octaves, place your fingers on the edge of the keys. There's no need to hit the key from directly on top if that's limiting you. So there was this one time that I was talking to a student about playing octaves and hand size, and I noticed that we had the exact same hand size, and for some reason they couldn't reach an octave, but I could. And after watching myself, thinking about it for a minute, I discovered that the reason that I can play an octave is just because I utilize the edge of the keys. Instead of trying to play an octave like this, where I'm striking the keys from the top, which is really uncomfortable, I bring my fingers down and play on the edge of the key. Tip number 4 is to play fewer notes. If an octave is still super uncomfortable for you and no matter what you try to do, it just doesn't feel right, it's totally fine to just take out one of those notes from the octave. So I have a C octave right here. If I'm feeling uncomfortable and I just don't like it, I'll just take off this bottom C, play this one C with my thumb up here, and the song will still sound pretty good. Tip number 5 is to use inversions. Inversions are when you change up the order of the notes in a chord, and with chords that have a lot of notes, these can be really tricky for people like me and us if you have small hands, and inverting the chords, switching up the order can help a lot with discomfort and just making things easier for you. Just the other day, I was playing a song that had a C major 7 chord in it, and my hand was kind of cramping up. It was just bothering me. I didn't know what was wrong. And then I just thought for a second and realized if I inverted this chord and just switched up the order of the notes, it made it so much easier on my hand. I stopped feeling all discomfort, and the song came a lot easier to me. I hope that you feel encouraged that your hand size does not have to hold you back if you just tweak a few small things. Comment below if you have small hands like me and how that has affected your playing.